I've really loved my school job. I've had that job since I started out of grad school. I've been in the same school for 6 years, and I feel like I really know that area. I know the people, the kids, the families, the community, and I really love that. I think I don't wanna lose that part of it, and I also need consistent money and benefits, that there's a little bit of that with private practice sometimes that isn't always consistent, so I wanted to keep consistency for me and dabble in private practice kind of to see if I could do it, and then once I figured out that I could do it and that you can kind of figure it out as you go, I thought part-time would be a good way to be flexible, make a little extra money, try some different things, and then just kind of go from there.
Hey there, and welcome to the Speechie Side Up podcast. My name is Vanita Litvack, and I am so grateful you're here. I'm an ASHA certified speech language pathologist, author, and augmentative and alternative communication consultant who is obsessed with helping SLPs like you stop reinventing the wheel and connect with other SLPs in the trenches. Have you ever wondered how other SLPs seem to be doing it all with ease? Well, around here, you'll get to hear firsthand how SLPs are really getting things done while keeping evidence-based practice and self-care in mind. Think of this as a coffee date with your SLP friends. Get ready to be challenged and encouraged while we learn together.
Today, I'm joined by Hannah Davis, she, her. Hannah is an ASHA certified clinically competent speech language pathologist, licensed and practicing in the state of Virginia. She works full time in a public elementary school and owns her own private practice, Dominion Speech Services LLC. Hannah has practiced for 6 years and has experience in a variety of settings. When not in the speech world, Hannah is an avid reader, beachgoer, and supporter of all and small LGBTQIA plus businesses. Hannah, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I am super excited for this interview. So, do you feel like that covered everything, or is there anything else you want to add before we start talking about starting an inclusive private practice on the side?
Yeah, I think that just about covers it. I am going to start soon in my private practice offering voice therapy as gender affirming care for transgender communities in my area. So that's something new kind of coming up in the works. But yeah, you covered just about everything else.
That's awesome. And I think that it's so needed. And there's not a lot of people that specialize in that in our field. So that's amazing that you're going to be doing that. And we could talk about that a little bit more too, like what that
Sure.
actually looks like if anybody else is interested. But this seems kind of niche, right? So, how did you find your niche?
So, working for 6 years, I immediately thought out of grad school I would end up working with adults in the hospital, and then I tried it, and it wasn't everything and everything that I thought it would be. So then I thought, "Okay, I need to try other things." So I worked, in an elementary school, in early intervention, and an outpatient clinic, and did some home health care with adults too, just to try to get a really good view of everything that we can do and really find what I liked. And I really ended up loving working with kids and especially early intervention, where you get to collaborate with the families and get them really involved. And so that kind of led me to working in the school. And then newly found this need for the LGBTQ, community support and helping in that way with adults, that sort of led me to needing another avenue to work in multiple places. So that kind of led me to the private practice world where I could work with kids in early intervention with families and then also with adults a little bit. I've just always been a helpful person and inclusive to everyone. And growing up, my mom was a nurse and she always was that kind of way too. And I think it's just important in our field to make people feel seen and heard and understood. And I think I've kind of found a way to do that both with kids and with adults.
I love that. And I can definitely tell you're a helping person. So, it's great that you are able to really cover the full spectrum and fill your cup in both ways.
Yeah.
And so do you feel like you will narrow down your practice even more, maybe going one way or the other? Or do you find that you're going to just kind of keep that balance between the two?
I I think I'll have to keep the balance. I think I would miss the kids if I went full adults only, and I think I would feel like there's another part that was missing if I only saw children, for the rest of my life. I think I really like that flexibility with private practice that you can kind of do a little bit of everything, and having that flexibility and deciding for myself what I'm gonna do brings me joy every day in what I do, and I think that that's really important and the big draw to private practice that you get to do, whatever you want within our scope, and I think for now, even while it's just part-time, and if one day I took it the step to being full-time, I think I would keep it where I see a little bit of everybody's everything.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that makes sense. So you kind of touched on this a little bit, but why private practice? Why not just, or why private practice part time right now? Why not go full time in it? Or why not just, do the school job?
Yeah. I've really loved my school job. I've had that job since I started out of grad school. I've been in the same school for 6 years, and I feel like I really know that area. I know the people, the kids, the families, the community, and I really love that. I think I don't wanna lose that part of it. And I also need consistent money and benefits, that there's a little bit of that with private practice sometimes that isn't always consistent. So I wanted to keep consistency for me and dabble in private practice kind of to see if I could do it. And then once I figured out that I could do it and that you can kind of figure it out as you go, I thought part time would be a good way to be flexible, make a little extra money, try some different things, and then just kind of go from there. I really like being my own boss and making my own schedule and, you know, I'm private pay only, so I'm not dealing with insurance or anything like that, and I haven't had any issues or any problem really getting people to come work with me. That has just been a really fun way for me to stay interested and have joy in what we're doing and try some different things and work with different populations that I can't always get to at the school either, or work a little bit more closely with families when I'm going into their homes or meeting them in the community that I don't always get at the school level.
That makes sense. So you're
Mhm.
seeing early intervention private practice, you're in elementary school in your job, and then you see adults. So you're really covering the full spectrum.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
And at my school, we do have, like, preschool students that can walk in. So I am seeing pre-K through 5th grade, so 3 up to 11 ages, and then primarily early intervention in my private practice, and now dabbling in with the adults too. So it is definitely interesting, and there's something happy that happens every day and something different every day that I don't know if I would get that same kind of joy only being in the school or only being in private practice. I think I really like having a little bit of both.
Yeah, I agree. I also approach private practice the same way as you, and what I love. I don't. Are you in Threads, Instagram, Meta Threads?
I am starting, yeah.
Okay. I posted recently about this because I think I'm discovering. I was like, what is my word of the year? And I think it's "and." Because a lot of times we always think it has to be an either or situation. You either have to work for school or do private practice. You either have to do this approach with articulation or this one. And I'm really trying to embrace the and this year. And I love that everything you do seems to be that, right? You're working with early intervention and adults. You're working, in the schools and you have a private practice. So I think this is a really good lesson and an example for anybody who's listening who's really struggling with a decision right now. It doesn't have to be so black and white. They can find joy in that gray area too.
And I love that, the and why not?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you try? And I know you've had Jenna Castro on the podcast, and I follow her and have looked at her stuff, and she made a point that why wouldn't you try now? You don't have to wait until you feel like you're at a certain point. You could do it and something else. You can start it part-time and grow with your business and grow as a clinician while you're learning. And it's been really fun that, yeah, I think that's a great one. I want that to be my word of the year too.
Well, and I think maybe people are afraid that just time-wise, they just don't have enough time to do both, but I don't know, did you find that, like, when you're doing something that you really enjoy, you find the time to
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, our job doesn't always feel like a job, and we get to do lots of really fun things. In the beginning, like trying to figure out when to see kids during the school year was a little bit tricky, but it's mainly after school, hours. My school is a little bit later, but most parents were like, "Okay, great. We don't get home until in the evening. They kids need a snack, and then we have this routine, and it just kind of works." But especially working in the school, I have so much time over breaks that there's Christmas break, there's summer break, that there's so much flexibility that I can kind of figure things out for me on my private practice. And if it works, great, then I keep it going. And if it doesn't really work out, then it's okay because it's just part-time and I can, try the next thing the next week and just kind of keep that flexibility going and know that I do have a steady job still, that's why it was kind of nice to start it this way and maybe one day do it full time and then put myself in a school through my business, that's an option, but there's so much flexibility and so much opportunity with our job and our career that we are certified to see so many different things. I think I felt like I wanted to branch out and wanted to try different things and see how it goes.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that's helping you kind of figure out where your business fits and what you enjoy doing.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
how do you accommodate the cultural practices of your clients?
Yeah, so the school that I work at is a Title I school, and we see, I mean, a range of all different cultures and family units and socioeconomic statuses that I've felt like that's really set me up to work with families with multiple languages, bringing in understanding their culture and how their family unit works and how that impacts the kids. And especially in early intervention, when you're in their home, you follow their lead and you figure out what they need as a family and what the child needs to be doing in that unit. And I think it's important to understand where they're coming from, get their input, make sure that the families and the clients, when it's appropriate, that they're part of that decision making. They're talking with you about everything. They're aware of what we're doing, that we're involving the parents in that teaching and that learning, because that's making them feel included and that's inclusive teaching and making people feel like they have the opportunity and the safe place to participate and to learn. And if they feel that, then they're going to buy in more to what we're doing and they're going to trust us. And then we see that carry over with kids. I think it's just been important to know a little background knowledge and know when you're going into a home kind of what to expect, but really following their lead, talking with them, understanding where they're coming from, and getting their point of view and what they want to get out of it. And then incorporating that into your goals and what you're doing. And then they will really trust you and feel like you understand where they're coming from and they'll work with you.
Those are great tips. I love the piece about, seeing what they actually care to work on in therapy, what's important to them. And do you
Yeah.
find that it varies quite a bit based on the cultures?
Yeah, it does sometimes. I think most families, they know that we're the expert, right? And they're like, "You tell me." And I'm like, "Well, no, you tell me what is important to you guys, and then we can shape it into what is developmentally also important." But, their family culture may change, or there may be a parent that is the leading parent in conversations. And so you kind of have to know that ahead of time so that they know that you're understanding and you're following their cultural norms. Or if the children have a certain role in the family, you can't just come into the situation and completely throw their family unit for a loop. It's important to just kind of understand and not bring your own personal bias or your own experiences in and expect everyone to be the exact same. Once you're open and understanding, the family will trust you and let you in on what they need and then be more accepting of what you're willing to offer too.
For sure. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So, do you ever have to have those hard conversation with your families or even your colleagues?
Yeah. So working in the schools and in early intervention, sometimes we are the first people that these families encounter or these kids encounter, besides their pediatrician or something. But especially early intervention, when we're going into their homes, we become a part of their family and we really get to know them that we sometimes see indicators of something or need to have a hard conversation about what they're doing or maybe just an unknown, conversation. Hard isn't always, the right word. It shouldn't always have to be hard, but it's just something new. And one of my supervisors that I had in my first job, she told me, kind of things this, and it always stuck with me that we are a part of their family and they trust us. And it is going to mean more coming from us from a place of safety and security and this expertise than if they were to go somewhere else and be kind of blindsided by this information. So I've always tried to take that to heart and into every conversation that I have, and that it's important that we bring awareness to things or talk to families openly about what they're doing and what's working and maybe what could be adjusted to help support what we're working on a little bit more, not placing blame or anything on them, but just opening their eyes that there are some differences or different things we can try. Because at the end of the day, they want to help that client or their child, or if it's a teacher, their student in the best way that they can, and they don't always know. So we kind of have to be the one that says, let's try it this way and see how it goes and treat everyone, appropriately and with kindness and respect. And at the end of the day, it usually works out pretty well, if you approach it that way and don't bring your personal feelings into it. And you kind of have to put your imposter syndrome feelings, to the side, having those conversations, and they'll understand and be willing to be open and have that conversation with you.
Right, right. Well, and like you pointed out, building that rapport first and knowing that they'd rather hear it from you, someone that they have like gotten to know and trust, rather than just being bombarded with that information. I'm actually going through something like this with a private client right now where we've been working together for maybe like 6 months. And the poor mom, every time this child is put into a new school setting, immediately they're like, referral for autism, referral for autism. And it's completely unwarranted. They will say things that aren't even true. And in fact, this last one, they had the child in the school for 3 hours and then called the mom and said, yeah, 3 hours. Have you ever like, and then she's like, yeah, we've been through all the testing, and I know that sometimes they're not sensitive enough, these early intervention tests, but the pediatrician's doing the assessments. Early Steps did the assessments, which is like our program here in Florida. And I've been working with this client, and the client's been making significant progress ever since like we started working together. There's just, there's some delays there. But I feel for this parent, and she really does trust me because we've been working together for a while. She's like, no, should I? And I'm like, well, here's a referral for a neurologist if you decide you want to, go down that route and get an answer for yourself. And I think it helped her knowing that I wasn't swinging her one way or the other, but I'm like, here's the information. Do what you want with it. Do whatever you feel is best. And ultimately, she decided not to go to that neurologist and pulled her child from that school. And they actually profusely apologized because they're like, that was so out of character. I don't know why we even did that. And it was wild. But you know, it's hard. It's hard for families. I now am just being on the receiving end of that as a toddler mom. There's so much information overload out there, especially on social media. Parents are so scared
Yeah.
and like backed into a corner if their child exhibits like even the slightest, sign of something. And what I'm just seeing with my own daughter is that I feel like there's normal variation, right,
Yeah.
in
Yep.
some of these signs that they exhibit. So,
Yeah.
but it's not okay when, for instance, on social media, you'll see something that says, it's not normal if your child does this. And it's, well, who
Right.
defines normal, right?
Yeah.
That was my soapbox.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right, especially with social media, there's so much information out there, but then parents don't have a trusted person to go to and be like, "Is this applicable to my situation or is this the same kind of thing?" And in my private practice, I feel like I've had a few parents that have come and said, "Okay, well, I Googled this and I looked this up and I think it's this, this, and this." And I'm like, "Okay, let's take a breath. Let's get to know your child. Tell me all of the things, and then let's talk about it. And we can, define all of the things and go through it together. Or I can give you the resources if you want to go, take it further." But they often come already armed with these ideas or, on the defense that they think something is going to be the answer. And that's just not always the case. Sometimes they do need us to be that trusted counselor person in their life that will tell them the truth and, normative information and give them opportunities to go and look and seek other things out if needed.
Yeah, absolutely. Such a great point. So, is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up today?
I mean, we covered a lot. I think I really do love flexibility in private practice and doing it part time. I think it'll be interesting to see how it kind of changes and transforms, with more people doing it and more people taking on independent work roles. And I'm excited to branch out for me a little bit and dabble in some different things. And hopefully it helps other people try and give it a go.
I love that. Well, I'm excited to follow along and see where this takes you. So, if anybody is interested in reaching out, where can they find and connect with you?
Yeah. So on Instagram, it's just my business name. It's at Dominion Speech Services. And then if anyone is in Virginia and wants to know any more about my private practice, my website is just dominionspeechservices.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hannah. This has been such a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. I've enjoyed it a lot.
Thank you so much for listening. By the way, have you joined the SSU crew yet? By joining, you get access to the free goods section on our website, plus podcast updates, special event notifications, and therapy inspiration. You can sign up at bit.ly/join SSU crew, all lowercase, or just find the link in this episode description. Also, don't forget to take a screenshot of this episode so that you can always refer back to it and share it on social media if you really love the topic. Take care and remember to always fill your speechy side cup first before you can pour into others.